From the start of the next NBA season, and you know what that means. The Jump's previously on segments are back. This is like when your favorite TV show returns from hiatus. We're catching you up on everything that happened since the last time you saw him. So now it is time for Previously on the Los Angeles Clippers.
There's something going on here, and this is not simply the Clippers, messing around. It's more than that. The Denver Nuggets are outplaying them.
The Clippers right now have no answers for the Nuggets. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer feeling like the Clipper fans right now.
There is no overstating about what we saw from the LA Clippers last night. Just an absolute, flat-out, catastrophic disaster. As the Clippers were busy descending into a giant sinkhole last night, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum had a field day on Twitter.
The Clippers are going to break this up.
Clippers and Doc Rivers parted ways yesterday. The team said in a statement that Rivers and owner Steve Ballmer, quote, reached a mutual decision.
Doc was trying to play me as like a Ray Allen or like a JJ Redick, like all pin downs, all like I can do it, but that ain't my game, right?
I can't tell what your answer is. It's just hard to see where you're going here.
Coaches are the fall guys, and sometimes it's not warranted.
Steve Ballmer decided we need a fresh start, and look, that's a brave, bold move.
Paul George and the Clippers have agreed to add 4 years to his contract.
Last season didn't end. The playoffs didn't go the way they wanted them to go, and certainly there's a lot on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George with the new head coach in Ty Lue to get this figured out.
We are now thrilled to welcome in NBA reporter and my Maryland friend, Om Youngmisuk, to help us preview the Clippers' upcoming season. And we begin, guys, with the big cliffhanger, right? At the end of last season, when we last saw the Clippers, they gave up a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the Western Conference semis. In the aftermath of that, as noted there, chemistry problems, right? Doc Rivers gets fired this offseason. They hire Ty Lue. They lose Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers, pick up Serge Ibaka to reunite with Kawhi after their 2019 title run. Paul George also signed that big extension. So, do the Clippers feel like their chemistry issues are behind them?
This is definitely still an issue for them that they are working on. Like, the Clippers should send bouquets to the Houston Rockets and Kyrie Irving for basically taking away from them as far as being the biggest drama in the NBA. Those two guys are making the Clippers look functional, okay? I kind of liken this, Rachel, to, I'm one of the few lucky people that just got a PlayStation 5, which is, impossible to get, okay, Rachel? And the thing is, once you get it into your cart and you've purchased it, that's only half the battle, because now you got to wait for it to actually come and get to you. And you hear all these horror stories of it being delivered in the actual PlayStation box and people jacking them. OK, and I'm getting to my point here is that for the Clippers and their chemistry, yes, they made some changes with Doc Rivers and Ty Lue, maybe in addition by subtraction by losing the $6 million a year Montrezl Harrell and bringing in Serge Ibaka, who has familiarity with Kawhi Leonard. But until I got my PlayStation 5, until you see it and feel it in your hands, the Clippers don't have that chemistry yet. And that is something that they're going to have to work on. And there's going to be bumps along the way for sure, because they are learning a new system under Ty Lue. Yes, Ty Lue was there last year under Doc Rivers. But as Ty Lue said, this is a whole new system. They got new players, new faces to bring in. And there's a lot of pressure on Kawhi and Paul. And if this doesn't work out, if they have another collapse, another unimaginable catastrophe in the postseason, guess what? Kawhi Leonard has a player option in his contract next summer. They locked up Paul George, but the Clippers are still going to be anxious until they see that chemistry together, because they want to keep Kawhi Leonard next summer as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, T. Lue and the staff, they deserve a fresh start, right? Because that he just deserves that, because he's a championship coach. He's gone through all of the stuff you need to go through, and he needs to be able to put his stamp on this team. The pressure absolutely lies on those two guys. Look at the amount that the Clippers have invested in having those guys here, the number of picks. I still always come back to that kid, Gilchrist Alexander. Yep. I love him, right? Danilo Gallinari was a part of that deal, and they just paid him a 4-year monster contract. So I just think that with that investment, those two guys have to take this team to another level. And I think what will be a big difference for them this year is, can Reggie Jackson play at a high level as a point guard and really fill that position that they need, because that's the one place I think everyone has said the Clippers have needed to improve. So We'll see what Reggie can do in that position, and can he make other people better around him.
Yeah, that true floor general type role. I will just say to everyone, do not underestimate Serge Ibaka. He is such a breath of fresh air everywhere he goes. He has a really good relationship with Kawhi. They've done some fun stuff together. He's gotten Kawhi out of his comfort zone. So Serge can maybe be that bridge between Kawhi and the rest of the team that will lead to better chemistry. We will see.
Champion.
Absolutely.
Defender, can shoot.
Absolutely. But not just on the court, but off the court. He is a guy you want in your locker room. All right, here is what Clippers fans will need to binge watch in the first half of the season. The Clippers facing the Lakers on TNT's opening night, and they face the Nuggets on Christmas night. They also face the Warriors twice in early January, and they will see the Bucks on February 28th on ABC. So, which game would you say is bigger for the Clippers? Opening night against the Lakers or Christmas night against the Nuggets?
I mean, look, if this was any other team, I would say maybe trying to exercise your demons from the playoffs after having a 3-1 collapse. But as Nikola Jokic said at the starting training camp, people are talking about the Clippers losing and not the Nuggets winning that series. And the Clippers certainly feel that way throughout camp. All they've said is how they lost that series and they should have won that series. This is about the Lakers between these two games because, one, you get to measure yourselves up against the defending champions. Granted, we might not see a lot of LeBron and AD on opening night, but the Clippers are going to be in that arena watching them get their rings potentially. And also, Montrezl Harrell, the other wrinkle that's in there, is on the other side now. And in the first game, Patrick Beverley and Montrezl Harrell are already talking smack to each other. They're going to take that up 100 levels on opening night. So it's definitely the Lakers over the Nuggets.
Totally, 100% agree with you, It's just when you LA and you're playing in the same building.
And spoken like an LA native.
I just understand what it is, right?
Think it's the Nuggets game. You don't think that
no way. They got to watch the Lakers get their rings and hang up another banner in the Staples Center. I remember in Miami when we had to sit in the locker room and watch Dallas do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, if you're not fuming in there and ready to go and come out with just a chip on your shoulder, we ended up, I know we were up 30 after 3 quarters.
Yeah, I remember that game.
I mean, those guys, I can't even tell you how they were in the back. LeBron and D-Wade, Chris, they were foaming at the mouth. And so if the Clippers aren't like that for this game, I don't know what to motivate you because these guys are collecting the hardware that you are getting criticized about not being competitive for right in the same building as you. And you got to hear it all the time, everywhere you go.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I will say I watched those two teams played last night, and I know it was preseason, but there was no LeBron, there was no Anthony Davis. You did have Paul George and Kawhi out there, and I did not see the energy from the Clippers that Coach Ty Lue, to his credit, said he didn't see either. Finally, it's spoiler alert time. Caesars William Hill giving the Clippers the second best odds of winning the Western Conference behind the Lakers, but in front of some really good teams. Fizz, what's your bold prediction for the Clippers this regular season? Where do you think they'll end up?
I still think they're going to be sitting in the 3rd seed because I don't know what's the difference between this year and last year when it comes to load management. Right? Is there any difference? So I think those guys will still get rested and they won't win enough games to win more than Denver and the Lakers. I think Denver is real, and we have to give them the credit for who they are, and they're not going to load manage. Those young guys are playing. They're going to play all 72, and I think at the end of it, the Clippers will be in that 3rd seed. But can they get more chemistry out of it this year? Can they get connected more offensively and defensively where they're reading and reacting off of each other and playing hard for each other in a sacrificial way? That's what we didn't see last year. They were not giving it up for each other, and that's going to be the difference in a shortened season. Can they manage those minutes to, and keep them healthy, but can they build chemistry and show a real connection between the locker room guys?
Look, as good as the Clippers were last year in the regular season, and then it all collapsed in the postseason, I actually think, and they were better on paper last year, but I think the Clippers are going to be better in the postseason. And I think what you're going to see is that the Ty Lue addition, changing from Doc Rivers to Ty Lue, is going to be what they hope for strategically and also helping with the chemistry. And I think Ibaka, just like you said, Rachel, we don't know how much he has left in the tank. But I think the ability to stretch the floor for them is going to be big for a stretch 5. And also his ability to perhaps defend bigs like Nikola Jokic and Anthony Davis in the postseason, where Montrezl Harrell struggled there. I think that is going to be a big addition for the Clippers in the playoffs, but we have to wait and see.
Well, I will listen to anything someone sitting in front of all those Jays has to say. I'm impressed with your background. I'm impressed with all the sneakers. I do want to point out that Ohm wore one of those to his wedding. That is how dedicated he is as a sneakerhead. Thank you so much, friend, for coming and joining us today. Come back soon. Everyone else stick around, because here's what the Jump recommends for today. Tim Bontemps recapping our annual NBA offseason survey on the ESPN app. 4 of the 8 scouts and executives surveyed picked Luka for MVP this year. I know a couple of our analysts have picked